What's up everyone, this is Jacob, welcome to Dangerville. So you probably noticed how we skipped last week's episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. With Godzilla -1 coming out in theaters, and the trailer for the new Empire being released, you can say it's been quite hectic trying to crank out these videos lately. But with all that being said, I'm still going to quickly recap the gist of what happened in episode 5, and then move on to episode 6 breakdown where a lot more exciting stuff was going on. And you know we're going to talk about Godzilla's appearance in this episode, so let's not waste any more time, let's get to it. So episode 5 focuses hard on our 3 young character leads, which already kind of gives you a hint of why so many people didn't enjoy this episode. It focuses mostly on Kate, and we see more of her backstory. Oh my god! And throughout this episode, we got to see an average person's take and experience on G-Day, which was cool to see. It's nice to see normal people reacting to the Titans. And this eventually leads this episode to have Kate have a reunion with her mother in San Francisco. Now we've already met Kentaro's mother, and here's Kate's now. There was a lot of awkward saltiness here between her mother and Kentaro and pretty much everything that's going on. And while you understand why, she figured out her husband cheated on her and had a family with another woman. But now this deep into the series, episode 5, it just feels kind of random to go back to this again. But it was a reason for our characters to go back to San Francisco and push the story forward. Speaking of old San Fran, we get to see the crew walk through a post-Godzilla Muto battle destroyed area of the city. Now it's real easy to bash this episode, but this scene right here at least gives a good sense of atmosphere to the otherwise blandness of this episode. And you can't deny that it does kind of feel like Godzilla 2014, something a lot of us fans have wanted since that movie. I just wish there was more of it and more reasoning behind being there. Yeah, it helps them discover clues, that helps them find where their dad is, but I just would have liked to have seen more, really. This episode also reminded me how much I just don't like the character May. She's just super shady and they wrote her to be unlikable. I don't know there. I don't know what they were thinking. And that's really it for episode 5, guys. The fans didn't quite enjoy this one. I personally thought it was a bit boring and in some ways useless for the greater story. But sadly in this day and age, it does seem like every news show has at least one of these throwaway episodes. So let's do just that, throw this episode in the trash and move on to episode 6 because this one's back to being pretty dang good, I think. We're back to the 50s. Yes! Here we see Shaw and Kiko continuing their campaign to elevate Monarch in the eyes of the higher-ups of the military of America and the people in Washington, D.C. These characters I really enjoy. Their conversations they have are just so much more deep and important than the ones we see the younger crew doing. And even the writing of their scenes just has a lot more impact. I know this is kind of a controversial part in the episode, but at one point, General Puckett calls Kiko one of the good ones when the rest of the military guys figure out that she's of Japanese descent. This is right after the war, so all that tension and kind of racism is still there. And the way how the writing of this scene handled this situation, I thought was just really dang good. Kay and Shaw just overall have so much chemistry. And you can see how they have feelings towards one another, but don't really make advances out of respect for their profession and priorities, at least for now in the story. And I do have to note that this is before Kay and Randa become more of an official thing, so there's not like there's any shady shenanigans going on. Honestly, everyone, I really wish more of the show focused on these characters. Heck, I wish it was the main focus of the show, actually. It just flows so much better than the modern stuff, at least throughout the first 5 episodes. But we do go back to modern times and we see the French girl from the Godzilla animated series, just kidding. Her name's actually Duval, and she's deciding to save Shaw and leave Monarch, joining his cause because, Monarch's just a shady agency that doesn't really get anything done. They just sit around twiddling their thumbs. Meanwhile, the world's going to crap. Sounds familiar, right? Shaw makes a very good point, pointing out how anyone who disagrees with Monarch is suddenly labeled as crazy and insane. Something you see plenty of throughout the whole Monsterverse, actually. Next, we see Bill Randa meeting with Shaw and Kay, and he informs them that a Titan reading has shown up in Japan. After discussing, they all make plans of running down this mystery, and the story continues. Back to the modern times, Shaw and Duval meet back up with the young crew. Shortly after that, we get this nice rubble shot of San Francisco post-Titan battle, and it really does look quite unsettling, I think. I just wish there was more of it in the show. Back to the 50s. We get what I consider a great union of old Godzilla movies and the new wave of stuff coming out. I think it's special to see a Hollywood production give a few minutes to feeling like an actual Toho movie. This guy right here I freaking love. I feel like him and the scientist guy from Godzilla -1 would get along just fine. And we get an early glimpse at what he's making, some crazy 50 eras technology that's going to completely change this universe. the ability to talk to Titans. I think we've seen that before, right? Before we get to see what the thing does, we cut back to the modern times. After they all discovered that Hiroshi Ronda's likely whereabouts are in northern Africa, we see the now full group back together again and cruising down a road in the Algerian desert. We get to see a nice dynamic of Shaw reacting to Kate, which is reminiscent of episode 2 in this series where he drives with Kiko. The show does struggle with some things regarding its story, but one thing that it nails is this whole Shaw storyline and his connection with the Randas. And I have to, like always, take some time here to point out that they're actually using real locations again. Simply beautiful, I don't know what else to say. Back to the past. Young Shaw feels bad he's not with Randa and Kay in Japan, and he asks General Puckett if he can leave for them, but is met with a harsh response. If he leaves, he's gonna get fired pretty much, so he's gonna have to make his choice. Back to the future. Our crew finally finds what they are looking for, Hiroshi Randa, their dad. What at first looks like a heartwarming moment quickly becomes uneasy, and just before we see why, the episode cuts back to the past. Now we get to see that Titan communicator in all its glory, trying to call in a certain Titan. Can you guess who? Quickly back to Hiroshi waving off his family. Something's coming, what's going on here? Yet again though, we cut back to the past, and see Shaw and Kay sharing a deep moment together. We as the viewers of this story know that in the end they don't get together, but clearly they do care for one another, at least in the beginning. But it just seems like fate won't let it be. Or, you know, a giant nuclear reptile. Upon Godzilla's arrival, our crew learns that the bomb didn't kill Godzilla, nowhere near close actually. And we get to see this amazing shot of him swimming around here. It's brief and it's simple, but this is a side of Godzilla that we rarely see in the Monsterverse. He's just doing his thing, chilling, vibing, doing everyday stuff. It kind of reminds me of something you'd see in the Godzilla animated series. And luckily for our modern crew, they get to experience Godzilla as well. What this scene does amazingly is show just how catastrophic Godzilla simply standing up is. I mean, this scene's crazy. Rocks are flying around, vehicles are bouncing over people in slow-mo. These guys are dying left and right. All from Godzilla just waking up from a little power nap. And for a TV show, the big guy looks amazing here. The way how this scene was crafted, an example being that one shot to where his tail swipes right past their heads. You can tell that some people put a lot of time into pondering this scene in the episode in their heads and making it come to life. It's just really good, I think. And it's nice to see Kate finally have a little bit of understanding when it comes to Godzilla. When he looks her dead in the eye, she realizes that he's not just this big dumb monster. After Godzilla walks away, and right before the episode ends, we see Shaw mention how he's trying to help Godzilla, not fight him. But what does this mean? I'll leave you guys to ponder on that one. And because the writers of this show just really wanted to make Kate and May extremely unlikable, they go back to thinking only about themselves, abandoning Shaw and his mission. And of course, Kentaro tags along cause, well, you know. There's so much good character work and writing in this series that I just find it really odd how they can make Kate go from being quite likable at times to just being like this, I don't know, jerk of a human being. And the same thing goes for May. I don't know, I don't want to rag on these two girls, and of course it's not the actress's fault, but man, I don't know why they wrote them to be kind of bad people in the grand scheme of life. Anyway though. So there you have it, the breakdown for episode 6 and a little bit of a recap of episode 5. It's unfortunate that Monarch Legacy of the Monsters is having the typical modern show thing, where the middle of this series kinda has a lull, but showing Godzilla in episode 6 does help to kinda reignite that passion for the series. And I can tell you guys that we actually got to watch and finish the entire series now, and it does pick up from here. Everything kinda comes together, and let's just say the characters that you may not like kinda get pushed to the back a little bit. So, hey, thumbs up. If you're thinking about it, don't give up on the show just yet. Trust me, it gets better. Make sure to stomp the subscribe button and hit the bell if you haven't already so you know when we upload more videos like these breakdowns on Monarch Legacy of Monsters and of course other things. And if you feel like I earned it, leave the video a like and share it around, it really does help. As always everyone, this has been Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.